What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another match preview. It's the first home game of the season, Everton. And it's going to be a tricky one. It is going to be a tricky one. It always is against any Sean Dyche team, to be honest. But Everton are coming into this bottom of the league, 3-0 loss on the first day of the season at home to Brighton, which I thought at times they did get torn apart by a very confident Brighton side. Spurs, on the other hand, coming into this with a 1-1 draw against Leicester at the King Power, which I do think Spurs deserve to take home 3 points on the day. If Dom Solanke puts away one of those chances, I think we are taking home 3 points. However, it was only 1 point, and it was a very disappointing period in that second half where we did come under a lot of pressure and could have even lost the game in that period. So that is the reality going into it. We do have injury problems going into it once again. We thought new season, fresh season, the injury problems are behind us, but they've seemed to reared its ugly head again.
Yeah, it don't sound too serious, to be honest, unlike, the Chelsea game. Solanke apparently might be missing this week, potentially the next week as well. We'll have to wait and see how his ankle recovers after, he gets treatment. Ange said it flared up after he hit it early in the Leicester game. Porro's back fit, which is really good, but unfortunately Bentancur won't make this due to concussion protocol. So he's fit and healthy, but unfortunately you have to have 10 days rest after a knock to the head like Bentancur had. So he's missing. He'll be back for next week, thankfully. So look, it's only really Solanke, to be honest. So it's not. I wouldn't say it's too much to worry about, but considering
Solanke and Bentancur, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying, like, in terms of actually injured, like, Bentancur's not injured. It's just protocol.
Yeah.
Solanke's injured. So he's the only one who's actually picked up an injury. We have Richarlison fit. We have Decker who can play there now. If we can't win just because Solanke's there, then we've got bigger problems, in my opinion. So, look, it's a blow that he's going to be out, considering he was so promising against Leicester. But we got options. And we got an option who even scored at home against Everton last season. So hopefully it shouldn't be too much to worry about.
Yeah, I hope so. And, Richarlison does usually fancy coming up against his former club. Probably has his best game in a Spurs shirt last year at Everton at Goodison Park, where he scored 2 stunning goals, particularly one of them. But, I said before how difficult it usually is coming up against this Everton side. We don't usually lose against them, but we do sometimes draw the game. Last time out at Goodison Park was 2-2. Before that was 2-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, then 1-1 at Goodison, 2-0 at Tottenham, 5-0 at Tottenham, 0-0 at Goodison, and 2-2 at Goodison. One of those coming in the Cup, I believe. No, they're all in the Premier League.
We lost 5-4 in the Cup.
We lost 5-4, yeah. So, I mean, the general rule between us and Everton is that we draw at Goodison and win at Tottenham.
Yeah, I think we have a fairly good record against them. We do usually get over the line, especially at the Tottenham Stadium. Look, I never really look at previous records because I think each game is different. Each game there's a different set of circumstances, different contexts. But Sean Dyche, is always going to have, always going to put up a good fight. He's always going to make things difficult for you. There's always going to be a physical presence on the pitch. You're going to know you're in for a game, especially for minute 1. And he's a smart manager. Sometimes he knows when to press high. He knows when to be in a low block. He knows when to go for it from set pieces. Counter-attacking, they can be decent as well. So, look, it's not going to be an easy game. Like we've got a few injuries, they've got a myriad of injuries. So I wondered how that will affect them, especially their back line. But Everton are one of those teams where if you do take the lead early, their game plan can go out the window a bit. And albeit last season we did take a 2-0 lead and they did get back in the game, we did still win. We did still win the game 2-1. Everton are one of those teams where the opening goal was, I feel like, really crucial a lot of the time against them.
As you saw last weekend.
Yeah, I think if they, last weekend they had the ability to create numerous opportunities against a Brighton side who, aren't going to play completely dissimilar to a way that we're going to play. And, McNeil was getting in, Harrison was getting in down the wings as well. Brighton were playing a super high line. And Everton were able to just, be really effective in just playing over the top, getting in behind. Unfortunately for them, they did miss some really gilt-edged chances. And if one of those goes in, it could have been a different game. But once Brighton got a foothold in the game, once they figured out how to get through Everton's press, and once maybe Everton tired a bit and their pressing was, a bit off it, then Brighton start picking up all sorts of space. And then, if you're Everton, you've got to be a bit worried because Brighton were able to create chances at Kanta, and not just regular chances, really good quality chances, and getting overloads and outnumbering Everton in loads of situations. So I think Tottenham will have to look at that game and try and learn some lessons of how Brighton did that, because try and avoid how Brighton were able to concede chances and learn how Brighton were able to play through Everton. But I think with Everton, it's all about managing the game, because they're going to have periods where they're looking on top, they're aggressive, but if you can just ride through them without conceding, I think we should be able to create better quality chances than them when we have our periods on top.
I feel like there's quite a lot of pressure on Spurs to get the result this weekend, just because we drew our first game. Our next two games after this are Newcastle away and Arsenal at home. Two very difficult games where we've lost both those fixtures in the last 2 years. Against Newcastle and Arsenal. So it's really important that Spurs actually get those 3 points this weekend, isn't it?
Definitely. I would say, Ange, as I said, if he gets off to a tricky start to this season, there will be some fans putting him under pressure, and especially if we don't win against Leicester and Everton in our first two games, considering the games we have coming up, it's going to put a lot of pressure on him to get results against Newcastle and Arsenal for sure. So definitely he's under a bit of pressure to get the win this weekend. I think he'll know that. I think Sean Dyche may be a bit as well after a heavy defeat against Brighton. I saw a lot of frustrated Evertonians after that game with how they approached the game. So I think there's probably a bit of pressure on both managers to get the win. But you've got to remember, when Costa went back to Pochettino, it's very similar circumstances. First year we finished fifth, where I think everyone was fairly happy with the first year, but I don't think anyone was definitely convinced about Poch. I would say more people probably convinced about Ange now than they were about Poch after his first season. And then you cast your mind back to the beginning of our second season when we challenged for the title with Leicester. We actually didn't win our first 4 games. We drew. We lost 1-0 Man United opening day, and then we gave up a 2-0 lead in our second game to Stoke at home. We ended up drawing 2-2, and then we didn't even win the next 2. I think we drew 0-0 with Everton. So, and then after 4 games, we got our act together and turned it around. So, just if something similar happens this season, we shouldn't panic. We should trust where we're headed, because I do think we're heading in the right direction. But for sure, the noise will get louder if we don't win, because not winning against Leicester and Everton, teams who aren't in great form, teams we're big favourites for, that's going to be a major blow for our what we're looking to achieve, and it definitely puts pressure on us getting results in games you don't expect, like Newcastle away potentially.
In terms of Everton, the lineup that they did put out to face Brighton in the 3-0 loss was Pickford in goal, Mikalenko, Keane, Tarkowski, Young, Irungbao, I don't even know how to...
Irungbunam.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Irungbunam, I think. Yeah.
Idrissa Gueye, Jack Harrison, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Dwight McNeil, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Out of those, Idrissa Gueye and Ashley Young are definitely out of the game. James Tarkowski is a doubt.
Idrissa Gueye as well is out?
That's what you said, didn't you?
No, Garner.
Sorry, Garner.
Yeah, I guess Garner Gueye, I can understand the confusion. No, James Garner.
Oh, James Garner.
Mm-hmm.
So he's out. So they had subs like Iliman Ndeye, their new signing, to come on. Beto came on. Mason Holgate came on for Jack Harrison. Do you feel like it will be maybe Mason Holgate at left back?
I mean, a right back. I don't see any other options. Obviously, they've sold Godfrey. He's gone to Atlanta. So... unless they go with maybe a back 3. I mean, with Tarkowski's out, I don't even think if they can do that. Even obviously, Branthwaite's also out.
Yeah.
So they're really struggling with options in the back line.
It's a good time to play them, isn't it? In
the back line, I would say yes. Obviously, with James Garner out, he was really good against us in the Tottenham Stadium last season. But if I'm looking at their biggest strength, I'm looking at that team. I'm definitely looking at that central midfield, because Idrissa Gueye, Irungbunam and Doucouré are all 3 of them very physical, very combative. Doucouré also can get forward, and he can.
He's a threat.
He's a threat going forward for sure. Irungbunam actually, in the first weekend of the Premier League, led the Premier League for tackles, interceptions out of anyone. So he can clearly get around the pitch as well. We know what Idrissa Gueye offers. He's been a Everton player for many years now. Despite a bit of a cameo at PSG, he's been at Everton, an Everton player for many years. He's been a Premier League regular. And if I'm looking at our midfield 3, especially if Basuma's not going to play, if it's going to be Gray in the 6, Sarr's not in the best form. Maddison at the moment, obviously he's great, but he's not as physical as those players. Is there a worry that Gray might get overrun. I think there's definitely a chance that might happen. So you've got to be wary of that three. I think that's the biggest threat for me, for sure, that midfield three. Are we going to get bullied in there? Are we going to get overrun? Are we going to get out-battled? Are they going to win every second ball? That's why I'd be tempted to put the whole Basuma thing aside and put him straight in, just because I'm a bit worried about that. But if he's going to stick to his guns and trust Gray, we're going to have to just kind of be more technical from them. We're going to have to keep the ball away from them, and we're going to have to make sure that we're matching their aggression. And if we can do that, it should be all right. But that midfield three is definitely something to worry about.
Yeah, what I would say about that is, I agree with you. They are a lot more physical than us in the middle three. But I feel like we're a lot more better on the ball and with the football on the floor than them in that middle three as well. So there's two ways you can counteract that as well. So I think if we can get the ball on the deck and just pass it around them, I think we should be all right.
That's the thing. We have to be good enough to pass it around them. We have to be on it. We have to be sharp. Like it's one thing. If you're better off the ball, it means the opposition, right, have to be perfect on the ball. Are we going to be perfect? That's the question. Maybe if you're going to do that, maybe it's even worth just like putting Bergvall in there. If you're going to double down on being better on the ball, maybe you just need a Bergvall next to a Maddison just to make sure that you're keeping it away from them and you're progressing the ball. Because if Sarr loses it, we're in trouble, And it's a lot of responsibility, Archie Gray, against these very physical midfielders he's going to be up against. So
those three midfielders that you do say, I know they're not as physical as the Everton midfield, but on their day, Sarr is a great presence off the ball. Maddison can do it as well, and also Archie Gray. Yeah, Archie Gray's 18, but we've seen him put himself about massively.
Yeah, but you're comparing it to Gay, who's been one of a top DM for many years, to Corey, who. Last season, I think he got near 10 goals and he was a massive threat going forward. And Eric Boonham, who the first week of the season, topped the whole Premier League for tackles and interceptions. So this isn't just a physical midfield. It's one of the most physical midfields probably there is. So we have to really be on top of our game to make sure they don't have the influence that they'll try and influence on the game.
How do you see maybe Everton just, setting up this game? Is it going to be sitting back, everyone's sitting behind the ball and looking for their moments, or are they going to be pressing high up the pitch?
It's going to be a mix. I don't think any team is just one thing, but I think when we're getting goal kicks and stuff like that, I do think they'll be pressing high. They know we're going to play short. They can be actually really effective and aggressive with their high press. But once we get forward into their half, then they will definitely drop into a low block. They will try and frustrate us. That's what Sean Dyche usually does, and he tries to win set pieces. Obviously, last time at Goodison, you remember how they bullied Vicario at the first set piece and got the goal. We let them. Obviously, we were 2-1 up until the 90th minute where they got that last-minute goal. But definitely, they were giving us a lot of trouble from set pieces, and we were under the cosh in those situations. So the main thing is just to make sure we limit the amount of set pieces, giving away no stupid fouls in and around our penalty area where they just give them opportunities to lump the ball in the box, and try and limit how many corners you're giving away as well. But I do think that Sean Dyche will be. I remember at Goodison he did that. He pressed high when we had goal kicks, and I do think he'll do the same. He'll try and catch us out. He'll definitely have taken note of what happened with Vicario in pre-season, and he'll think if they're lax like that against us, we can take advantage of it. So I think it'll be a hybrid, but I think mostly it'll be. I think obviously most of the game it will be Tottenham in possession, them in a low block frustrating us, but definitely there will be times when they're pressing high from our goal kicks.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned it just now that Vicario came under a lot of pressure at Goodison Park with the set pieces. They were bullying him, and that was like the first time we saw Remy Vicario getting bullied in a Spurs shirt. But the laws have changed now, and a lot of those moments that they had against us probably won't be allowed this season. So maybe we'll get to see firsthand now how much the rule and how they're going to implement it.
Well, the law hasn't changed. They've just said they're going to implement it more strictly.
Yeah.
So, again, what that means, I don't know. Does it mean that any touch on the goalkeeper is now going to be a foul? Does it mean the situations where Vicario, where the opposition wasn't penalised, are now going to be penalised? I mean, I don't know.
Surely something's going to change.
Surely, obviously, the things like White fiddling with Vicario's gloves, that has to be penalised a lot stricter than it was. But we'll have to look. As I said it at the time, I'll see it when I believe it. If they're going to start blowing the whistle for players challenging the goalkeeper more often, then great, and they'll benefit us because of how it affected us last season. But I'm not going to predict any that. I think we should. Basically, I think we should approach this game as if nothing's changed, because I don't think you can rely on the referee, even though they said they're going to be more stricter.
Well, judging by the first week of the season, you can't even rely on them to get a right decision most of the time as well. Like, there were so many bad decisions last week in the opening day of the Premier League. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. Dominic Solanke being out was a massive blow for me, because I felt like he put in such a good display apart from, his finishing. And with him being out, we do have Richarlison, we do have Kulusevski. I just wanted to see Dom Solanke just get more involved and more integrated into this team.
Especially with their defenders out, he would have had a real opportunity to bully their centre-backs and get us up the pitch, get us in the penalty area and really assert himself in the game. It would have been perfect for him, actually. So it is a blow that he's out. I actually think if he would have been fit, this game would have been a lot more comfortable than it might be now. But we know what Richarlison can offer. I think off the ball, he can still offer some good things. I don't think it's on Solanke level. Based on what I saw in the first game, Solanke is a whole new level to what Richarlison can offer off the ball. However, on the ball, but hold-up play and stuff like that. However, Richarlison still can do that, just to a lesser extent. So hopefully he can do that in this game. Ange said, he's looking like he's injury-free. But if we go in a different direction and go for Decky, I think Decky's link-up play in those situations could really benefit us. Obviously, he doesn't maybe have the physicality potentially as Richarlison. Richarlison maybe a bit more physical and a bit more of an aerial threat.
Decky is very physical.
Yeah, but Richarlison, he's been a number 9 in the Premier League for many years. I think, you don't get that amount of headed goals, and you're not challenging for centre-backs. I'm not saying Decky's not physical, but he doesn't have to compete physically with big, strong defenders like Richarlison has to on a weekly basis. You know what I mean?
That actually Decky's more physical than Richarlison.
I don't agree with that. I think, in terms of strength, if you're battling with a centre back, I think Rishi's more likely to win a duel than
You really think so?
Yeah. Kulusevski's physical for a midfielder. Really, he's physical. If you're comparing him to strikers, for example, like Calvert-Lewin, people like that, he's not on that level. But he's for an attacking midfielder. He's really physical.
I think he is on that level, though. You look at his build, you look at how much he puts himself about. You look at every time, most of the time he comes up in duels, he kind of comes up on the better side, Dejan Kulusevski.
Because he's coming up against fullbacks.
But even when he's been in the number 9 and the false number 9, he's winning his duels.
Not always. I think he's actually struggled a bit more to win his duels in the false 9. But he's still doing... I'm not criticising him. He's still doing a really good job. But he's doing a good job for an attacking midfielder playing in false 9. I think he's probably more physical than most attacking midfielders in that situation. I don't think he's more physical than most strikers, in my opinion. Most strikers, I would still say, I would probably say I'm more physical than him. And I would still put Richarlison in that, in my opinion. But if I'm Maddison and if I'm passing to someone in the box, looking for a layoff, would I rather it be Richarlison or Decky? I'd rather it be Decky, to be honest, because I'm more likely to get the ball back, and he's probably more likely to hang on to the ball. So on that front, I think both players have their strengths. For example, if I'm Brennan and I'm looking for someone to swing it into for a first-time finish, I'm probably would rather Richarlison be there. If I'm Maddison or a midfielder and I'm looking to link up with someone in a congested part of the pitch, I'd rather Decky be there. So that's the great thing about Solanke, he's the best of both worlds, but unfortunately he's not going to be available. So
that's
it's
another reason why
decision.
I think Decky should play, because I think there will be a lot of times where it will be congested in there. Mm-hmm. Judging against, playing this Everton side.
Yeah, but if you're going to swing the ball in, who'd you rather be on the end of it, Rishi or Decky?
But I think, I get that, but I still think that Decky is still good at those things. Whether maybe Richarlison could be a bit better, I feel like Decky has a lot more to his game than Richarlison.
That's the thing. In general play, I think it's going to be based on what Ange values more. Does he value, Rishi being in the box and getting in front of his man and getting those first-time finishes, which he did against Everton last year, or would he rather have Decky there, where you might not have as many chances of getting on the end of crosses, but in terms of opening Everton up in general play in those tight spaces and being able to open up Everton in the central areas, Decky's more likely to do that. So it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one for Ange. I suspect he's going to stick with Rishi, but I can understand going for Decky as well.
Yeah, in my personal opinion, I'd go for Decky. I think he's just showing an air of confidence as well, as on top of what he brings to the football team. Where Richarlison, yeah, he had a decent. I mean, didn't do much when he came on, missed that chance. I'm looking at Decky, and I'm just seeing like sheer confidence reaping through him, and I think he's a man that has to start.
I don't think we can continue to leave him out in the form he's in. I don't think it sends a good message to the rest of the team, because he's in such great form, and yet just because he's versatile, he's still being left out, and I don't like what that says to him and the team. So I really want him in the team. I want him to play, and I don't know. I don't even care if it's in midfield on the right. I just think he deserves to be in the team right now, and I feel that is wrong to leave him out given his form.
Yeah. But like I said, really important to get 3 points on the board and take that confidence up to St James's next weekend, which is obviously going to be incredibly difficult. And yeah, I want to know your score predictions in the comments section below. I'm going 2-1 to Spurs. Sim is going 3-1 to Spurs. In the studio, it is Ashmatic and Barnaby with you this weekend. But that is your match preview for Tottenham against Everton at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.